Good evening, everybody, and a happy New Year. Our first meeting of 2025. It'll soon be summer. Thanks to everyone for attending the meeting of planning on the 14th of January 2025. I'm Councillor June Molyneux, chairing the committee. Councillor Hilton's the vice chair. Please note the meeting's being streamed live on YouTube. If you're in attendance as a member of the public who's registered to speak, please note you have a time limit of up to 3 minutes. The legal officer will operate a stopwatch and confirm when your time runs out. You should then finish speaking, or if you're in the middle of making a point, wind up and finish, otherwise your microphone will be muted. To assist in following the evening's proceedings, a pack's been prepared and available online containing each item's report, plans and presentation slides. After officers have presented the report and any speakers have made their representations, I'll invite members to speak and make comments. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand, and when invited to speak, remember to use your microphone and reference the paragraph and page number, which will allow everyone to follow. Please bear in mind that some people will require closed captions and or lip reading to follow the proceedings, so try and speak slowly, clearly, and not cover your mouth when you were speaking, please. Please can everybody ensure their phones are turned to silent. We're not expecting a fire drill, so if the alarms sound, please exit the way you came in, because it's real. I've not received any apologies. With that, moving on to item 1. I'll get there in a minute, which is the minutes of the 10th of December. There. Thank you for all saying. All those in favour of those minutes? Sorry? Yeah. Okay. It's not on my sheet. I've not got that page. Why have I not got that page? I should have done item 1. Declarations of any interest. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any pecuniary interest in respect of matters contained in the agenda, and if you have such an interest, you must withdraw from the meeting, normally leaving the room before the business starts to be discussed. But you do, however, have the same rights to speak as a member of the public and may remain in the room to enable you to exercise that right and then leave immediately. In either case, you must not seek to improperly influence a decision in that matter. Thank you. And with that, I've done the minutes. Planning applications to be determined. We have 2 tonight. For the benefit of the public here tonight, speaking arrangements for the planning applications as follows. Our officers will summarise the report. Registered speakers will be invited to speak in the following order: objector, supporter, parish or town councillor, ward councillor, applicant or agent. All registered speakers will be allowed to speak for up to 3 minutes, apart from a ward councillor who may speak for up to 5 minutes. In the event that all speakers are against an application, as chair, I may grant the applicant or representative a time extension. I've respectfully asked members of the public who have not registered to speak to remain quiet throughout the proceedings. With that, we're moving on to item 3A. Pages 7 to 46, Croston Hall Farm, with an update on your addendum. Ian's going to present this item. The officer recommendation is planning permission is granted subject to conditions. I've no registered speakers. So over to you, Ian.
Thank you, Chair. This application seeks planning permission for the erection of 4 livestock buildings, 2 uncovered storage clamps and a building comprising a crop store, workshop and office with an associated yard area and the construction of a new vehicular access from Carr Lane. The site comprises agricultural pasture land associated with Croston Hall Farm and is located in the green belt to the south of Croston Village. There is an existing access track to the south of the site, which will be closed in lieu of the proposed new access. Members will recall that the Planning Committee resolved to be minded to approve this application at the November meeting, subject to conditions, and to delegate the decision to the Chief Planning Officer in consultation with Chair and Vice Chair, subject to no objections being received from Natural England. Following further comments from Natural England, an additional survey work had to be provided and submitted to Natural England. The outstanding matter for consideration by Natural England was in relation to whether there would be any likely significant effects upon mobile species associated with the designated sites at Martin Mere and the Ribble and Alt estuaries that rely on areas outside of the site boundary, and whether any mitigation would be required in relation to those effects. A Habitats Regulations assessment was carried out, which confirmed that the application site itself is of low value to qualifying bird species and that the adjacent fields might be utilised by qualifying bird species. Construction noise was identified as the sole likely significant effect, and therefore mitigation will be required in order to avoid effects from this source. This includes controlling the timing of construction activities and the erection of a close-boarded acoustic fence around the site during construction. On the basis that these mitigation measures be secured by condition, Natural England confirmed that they now have no objection to the application. As set out at the November committee meeting, the proposed development is an exception to inappropriate developments in the Greenbelt and is acceptable in principle. All matters of detail are considered to be acceptable, and it's considered that the application is in accordance with the policies of the development plan. As such, it's recommended that planning permission be granted subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Ian. Over to you, members. Councillor Whitaker. Microphone.
Members will recall that this was discussed at the last meeting, and what Ian didn't mention, I'm not criticising Ian of course, is that the consultation about the application was not carried out very successfully, in that a number of notifications were delivered to one particular property. As a result of that, there have been 2 other representations made by people who live adjacent to the site, which I'll come to in a moment. But basically, what this proposal is for 4 livestock buildings, each of which is 91 metres long by 17 metres wide. That's, if you like, that's the size of half the size of a football pitch, and there are 4 of them going on there. Never mind the storage clamps, the building comprising crop store, workshop and office, together with vehicle access and so on. So what I asked for at the last meeting was a site visit. Unfortunately, members decided not to do that and gave permission subject to Natural England, as Ian alluded to. Since then, there have been 2 residents' concerns. One is traffic. Secondly, there is a junction going into Shevington Causeway to Turflands, I think, which there are some temporary plastic bollards, which I'll make a second proposition to in a moment. So there's then the question of this intensive building fairly close to the centre of Croston, with, I think in the report it talks about 1,200 animals, most of which will be accommodated in these livestock buildings. Now then, there's the issue of drainage, there's the issue of pollution. The River Yarrow is fairly adjacent, as is the centre of Croston Village. So, whether members around here know the area very well or not, but I think it's important, given residents' concerns, never mind the odours and stuff and the pollution and the traffic, and not just when the place is built, but during the course of it being built, that we have a site visit. So my first proposition, Chair, which I hope somebody will second, is that before we consider this, I can quite understand how there's an inevitability about it and so on, but I think it's important that that members go out on site and have a look at the site, and that will be my first proposition. I have another proposition regarding conditions should that succeed, Chairman.
Any more comments from members? Councillor Singh.
Can second a site visit, please.
Any more comments from anybody? Councillor Hilton.
I think the officers have quite clearly explained how this development is appropriate, so I'd like to propose officer recommendation. Yes, I'm proposing officer recommendations.
Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Morwood.
Thank you, Chair. As per the last meeting, vis-à-vis the development, there are quite stringent conditions being placed on this, and if we read through it in detail, the points that Councillor Whittaker's alluded to have actually been addressed. Provided that the construction environment management plan is adhered to, obviously, which we can have some sort of control over, I have no issue with that. There is an issue over bollards, but that's a highways issue. I'm quite happy to take that up with highways. And so I'd like to second Councillor Hilton's proposition, please.
Councillor Morwood, sir.
Just a question to Councillor Whittaker and Councillor Singh. What do they see as benefiting? What is the benefit of a site visit to see where buildings might go?
Councillor Whittaker, you.
The benefit of a site visit so that members could see the issues of traffic, the type of road that it is, the proximity of the development, which is significant agricultural development, 4 buildings 91 metres long, in proximity to the centre of Croston area. And I think all I'm saying is, I understand that agriculture has got to grow and so on and so forth, but I think we've got to have a regard certainly to the issues of traffic. And one of the complainants, who's written in, I think, it's not reported detail, but I know, having spoken to him, his barn was damaged by the large construction vehicle, the large agricultural vehicles, which are going delivering stuff. They're usually articulated. It's a very right angle bend at the junction with Turflands. And I think that's one of the reasons that we could go and have a look and see for ourselves and make perhaps some comments. It'll delay it for 3 or 4 weeks, but we can make some comments about the second issue, which is about the junction with Turflands, about the bollards.
Okay, any more comments? Councillor Hilton.
I don't think we should be delaying a decision for 3 or 4 weeks for the sake of delaying a decision. I think that's inappropriate. Can I just ask Adele a question, or sorry, Ian a question? Highways have no objection to this, is that correct?
Through you, Chair. Yeah, Highways have reviewed the transport statement and the scheme, and some of the comments that have been made by the parish council, and they've raised no objection to it.
Okay, so thank you. So the Highways Authority have no objection to this, and they are our statutory consultees, so I don't see how we can argue a Highways argument to refuse this application. Thank you.
Councillor Whittaker.
Some people have trust in highways officers in making the recommendations. What they do not mention is that the plastic bollards at the junction of this right angle bend have been knocked down on at least 10 occasions. And they don't even suggest making that permanent. That comes on to my second proposition, Chairman. So my first proposition is to have a site visit so you members can judge for themselves. It's not a question of just rubber stamping everything. It's a very large development in the village of Croston, and it needs to be carefully gone through.
I think you need to tell us your second proposition, because when I put it to the vote, it's for or against the site visit. So what's your second proposition?
The second proposition, I'll take your advice, Chair. The second proposition is that a condition is attached, which I've looked through the paperwork and I can't find it. A condition is attached that the county council be required to provide permanent bollards at the junction with whatever the lane is, Car Lane and Turflands, and sorry?
Yeah, it's all right.
All right, well, I wanted to get your full attention, Chair, that's all.
You've got it. I'm as a primary teacher, I can write and listen to you at the same time.
My second proposition was to require the county council to provide permanent bollards at the junction of Car Lane and Turflands, and that should be a condition of the approval if that's what's given.
Okay, Adele, do you want?
Yeah, the imposition of such a condition wouldn't be lawful. It's not possible to require LCC to do something. What I would do is direct committee to paragraph 62 of the report, 63 of the report, that says it's not expected, whilst it's not expected to increase traffic movements, as such, it's not considered necessary for mitigation or a requirement that the bollards are replaced. LCC do, however, encourage residents that there, if there's any damage to the bollards or the highway, then this to be reported so that it can be investigated and repaired. So LCC are alive to the issue, but we can't, through a planning permission, impose a restrictive condition requiring LCC to do something.
Thank you, Chair. As I alluded to earlier, Chair, I'm quite happy to take that up with LCC. It is a live issue on that one there, and if it's reported to them, they will replace the bollards.
Chair, there's going to be a new development here involving enormous expenditure for the county council to say that they don't expect any more traffic movement when there's going to be 1,200 beasts, look, in a thing there that are going to be fed and watered. Never mind, there's reference to the pollution. For them to say that there's not going to be any more traffic movement is absolute nonsense, and I'll say so as well.
Thank you. I wasn't aware that cows could drive. I always thought cows went in fields and went across the field, over Carlisle, and into the housing where they were going to be put. If Councillor Whittaker has evidence that he can show, that can demonstrate that there's going to be more traffic there, he should bring it forward so we can all see it.
All those in favour of a site visit, please show. Well, but yeah, can I see the list again, the attendance list again? Because I don't think it's right. Where's it? Thank you.
No, it's okay.
Adrian's on it, it's not correct, we'll have to do it with a shorthand. It's not the right list. All those in favour of a site visit, please show. Those against? Any abstentions? Okay.
Members have voted against a site visit.
I will make sure before the next meeting I check the attendance list. Is it right? Yeah, that should be right. Yes, it was all right. We'll move on now. Moving on, if anybody's come just for that item? No. Oh, not, no. All those in favour of the officer recommendation, please. Okay, we'll do it this way then on this one. Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Just to confirm, members have voted in favour of officer recommendation that planning permission is granted subject to conditions.
Anybody who's come to that, who wants to go now, please feel free. Planning permission is granted subject to conditions. I've no registered speakers again. Adele, can you present the report, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. This application site is located in the settlement of Chorley. And the immediate locality is a built-up urban area characterised by business and commercial units located within the Common Bank Industrial Estate. There are residential properties approximately 250 metres to the east of the site, and this application is seeking planning permission for the erection of an industrial building along with associated car parking. Members may recall that planning permission was previously granted for the erection of a storage building for a temporary period of up to 10 years in February 2023. However, that hasn't actually been built. And the building that is subject to the current application is approximately 33% smaller than that previously approved, and which was to measure 80 metres by 20 metres. A full assessment of the proposal is contained in the committee report, and you will note that there are no objections to the proposal from any of the technical consultees and that no representations have been received. The proposed development is considered to be well designed and would not be harmful to the character of and appearance of the area. There would be no unacceptable adverse impacts on neighbour amenity due to the significant degree of separation between the application site and the nearest neighbouring residential properties. A biodiversity net gain metric and report has been submitted, and evidence of engagement with an off-site BNG unit provided has been provided, and all the BNG is to be provided off-site, the details of which will be agreed under the provisions of a condition that we would need to discharge as and when those details come forward. Members will be mindful that the officer recommendation is to approve the application subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Over to you, members. Councillor Snow.
Very happy to move this recommendation. Could see this company to continue to expand. It's a great employer in Chorley, and is one of the leading companies in the northwest of England.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Beach, Councillor Wilkie and Councillor Sherwood. Councillor Beach.
Thank you, Chair. Just want to echo Councillor Snow's comments and happy to second that recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. This is in an industrial area and it's not going to have much impact on anybody or anything, and I think it would be more than suitable.
Thank you. Councillor Sherwood.
Chair, happy to go along with Officer's recommendation.
Thank you. If there's no other comments, I'll move to the vote. Hopefully we can do it this time. Yay.
So members have voted in favour of officer recommendation that planning permission is granted subject to conditions.
Okay, now, item 4 is the appeals report, which Adele is going to present to us.
Thank you, Chair. It's not a particularly long report. Members will recall that I mentioned verbally the decision that had come through for the prison prior to the last committee, but after the report had been published. So just to bring to your attention, I've set out on this report so that it's been recorded, that you've been formally informed that the Secretary of State, whilst agreeing with the inspector's conclusions, disagreed with the recommendation and granted planning permission on the 3rd of December. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Southern, Councillor Whitaker.
Just to come on the back of that that Adele has brought to our attention, can I just make it clear to committee that this has actually gone to judicial review, so it's not a done deal yet.
Yes, so this has gone to judicial review and it's been taken up by a private individual. We've been notified of the documentation and we are listed as an interested party along with the Ministry of Justice. I think it's okay for me to confirm our position. Yeah, we aren't going to contest this and we're not going to be a party to that. So yeah, it's just to let you know that we have been notified of it, but Chorley Council will not be presenting any evidence or or anything like that with this.
Councillor Whitaker.
Thanks, Chair. I couldn't quite hear what Councillor Southern said, but just to advise members that the residents of Humes Walton and surrounding villages, never mind Chorley Council and South Ribble Council.
Councillors.
Sorry?
It's okay. They were having a discussion. Carry on, Alan.
Residents of Humes Walton, surrounding villages, Eccleston, Heskin, I'm not sure about Moseley, but certainly other areas, South Ribble and Chorley have objected to this, and there is an action group in Humes Walton which is going to take this matter to the High Court, and let's hope that they are victorious.
Just to confirm, there is an action group. There is an action group, but it's only one individual that is actually taking this forward. Her name's Emma Curtis. So she is listed as the person taking forward this JR. I know that there is an action group within the area, and I think they are just kind of supporting that JR, but they're not actually named as a party to that. It was just to confirm that.
Okay.
Chair, just to clarify the legality of that, I appreciate what's been said. The requirements for taking to the High Court requires one individual, otherwise it runs into mega thousands, as opposed to there's a limit of this, and various parish councils have supported the action group in pledging resources should that be necessary. Thank you.
Okay, so that report is for noting. I've just one other item of business before we go. Can you remain behind for 5 minutes when we've finished the meeting, as Adele